first up, we're going to talk about Abbott. So, if you guys don't know, I live here in Texas, so I am not well versed, but I'm aware of some Texas politics and stuff like that. And so, Greg Abbott has been very interesting how he's been dealing with COVID, in the sense that he doesn't really want to, he sort of wants to just push and get back to how things were essentially. And nothing is more apparent of that than this right here, where he is now officially banned COVID-19 vaccine mandates by straight up any employer in the entire state. And this is interesting because, so to give you some perspective, just from a Texas perspective, living here, I live right next to one of the bigger hospitals in Texas, Scott and White, and their ICU has been filled for quite some time, or close to fill. It's been teetering, I think, on capacity for quite some time after the main initial COVID outbreak. It's been going back and forth here in Texas. And here in Texas, even though I'm not too far away from Austin, which Austin is basically like a mini California inside of Texas for people unfamiliar with Texas, but even me being relatively close to that, if you came to Texas right now, you would not be able to tell that there was a pandemic going on. If you go to a store and everything, nobody, as soon as the mask mandate dropped, everybody's mask dropped. If my favorite place to shop, HEB, I go there to shop now, and I still wear my mask just because it never bothered me. And I noticed after I was wearing my mask for COVID, I stopped getting things like just a normal cold and stuff like that as often as I used to before. So I was like, I'm just going to keep doing that. But because of this is why things like just leadership direction, stuff like that is very important. Jordan has talked about like Biden being like, oh man, I wish there was something I could do, but I'm just the president. So I'm just going to sit here and I can't really pressure anyone. But just you giving a direction and saying, this is what I want, influences public opinion. If I can guarantee if Greg Abbott was not so nonchalant about masks and vaccines and stuff like that, that more people would be wearing those masks. But specifically here in Texas, it's basically just me and whoever I'm with wearing a mask when we go into stores and stuff like that. So that you can see how that translates to this new policy of now this banning of vaccine mandates everywhere, which is interesting because Texas and Abbott specifically has always been about the small government. Yet with things like this is literally big government telling what individual private employers can and can't do, which they've always been able to do this as far as in certain professions and stuff like that. You're required a certain vaccines and stuff in order to participate, most notably things like the military and stuff like that. So this is just a separate mandate that certain businesses may or may not have because it's another vaccine. But we got our big government in here in Texas. And this also includes state entities. Like before I came to solely work for Status Coup, which I've, earlier this year, my previous job was under a state thing, essentially, because I was working for a school. And even at that level, when COVID initially hit and was its strongest, there was no minimum requirements for a school or anything like that. So the people in charge of wherever we were, the mandates as far as masks and sanitation and things like that was literally dependent on whoever was in charge, how much they believed COVID was a real thing, which, spoiler, I'm in Texas. So, and so I actually had to fight for quite literally months just to get proper safety and things like that at our facility. And so it's just, it's one of those things that I don't know you can really break out of in Texas for now, as long as the leadership continues to ride this weird line of wanting to have minimal government, so we can't have any of these safety programs. We can't for poor or disenfranchised people and stuff like that. But at the same time, having this power balance of having some of the most overreaching government mandates you can have and banning literally individual private mom and pop businesses on whether or not the employees they hire are vaccinated for COVID is pretty big overreach. And then obviously we had the whole recent thing where they're trying to overturn Roe v. Wade and stuff like that, and have some of the most restrictive abortion bans we've ever seen in the country in recent times and stuff like that. So yeah, it's an interesting time here in Texas. I just wanted to touch on that a little bit.